charge of you folks. That is, he would take you upstairs during recesses, and then he would bring you down at the end of the recession. And I would be standing at the door waiting for him, and I accused him of usually taking the jurors for a walk across City Hall Plaza or the Common because it would take so long for him to get 12 or 15 people down one flight of stairs. So in this trial, I said enough's enough. We're going to go with Trustee Officer Fitzgerald because I know he can get jurors lined up and ready to go on time. We're going back to Bondo. All right, Mr. Sullivan.
Aware of Sherrod having a pension plan, are you?
Excuse me?
You are not aware of Sherrod having a pension plan, are you?
A pension plan?
Yes.
Objection, relevance.
Do you know what that is? You may answer.
I don't even know what that is.
All right. To your knowledge, he doesn't have a 401k.
I don't know, not that I know of.
He doesn't have a trust account.
For himself?
Yes.
I don't have personal knowledge of it.
But it is true that even while Sherrod is in jail, he's providing you with money.
Somewhat.
Well, he provides money to pay for lawyers, for example.
Objection.
See you at sidebar. All right, Mr. Sullivan, reframe the question, please.
So there are times when Mr. Bradley has arranged for money to be brought to him. Is that fair?
Yes.
$3,000 here, $4,000 there.
Not in those exact amounts or time frames.
In some amounts, he's arranged for over $1,000 in the past to be brought to you.
Yeah.
Now, he's discussed with you when to expect money coming in, correct?
On occasion.
He's discussed with you that he's owed money.
On occasion.
No, that may be asked.
And without reference to the source of Sherrod's income, you have been receiving money while Sherrod is in jail.
Is it? Can you give a time frame on that? Have it?
Well, the entire time he's in jail.
I haven't been receiving money the entire time he's been in jail consistently. No.
My question was not consistently, but you have received money the entire time he's in jail. That's correct.
I have received. Yeah.
Now, you told Mr. Hagan at the end of his direct examination that, quote, that this is in respect to jail calls. And you do recall Mr. Hagan asking you about jail calls, right?
Yes.
You stated that the jail calls are recorded.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're aware of that.
Yes.
You stated that you are going along with what Sherrod was saying.
I stated that in that instance, in that call.
Now, in addition to Sherrod giving you money, you go along with what Sherrod is saying because you're afraid of Sherrod.
Objection.
No, overruled.
No.
You are afraid of what Sherrod will do to you if you don't say what he wants you to say.
No.
Indeed, you filed a domestic violence claim against Sherrod.
Sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard that.
You've been so afraid of Sherrod in the past that you have made reports about Sherrod.
Objection.
So sidebar.
Sherrod was saying. And one of the reasons you go along with whatever Sherrod is saying is that
No.
you testified on direct that you saw Sherrod consistently, and even after West Palm Beach, right?
Yes.
You testified that your relationship grew stronger,
I saw him more.
and you said your relationship grew stronger.
If I said that, I would have to, I don't remember saying that. It grew stronger.
You definitely said you saw him more.
I saw him more.
The truth is that you filed for a restraining order against Mr. Bradley, correct?
Yeah.
You called the police when Mr. Bradley
Sustained.
You saw Mr. Bradley arrested at your house, right?
Yeah.
Objection.
As a function of that.
The council put a time frame on all of this.
The time frame is, this is April of 2013.
Objection.
Let's see you at sidebar.
You, Ms. Wilcox, filed for a restraining order, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley violated that restraining order, correct?
Yes.
You called the police.
Not in that order.
They came to your house.
Objection.
Not in that order. That's not the way it happened.
The police arrested Mr. Bradley, correct?
Objection.
You're saying it out of context if you
All
want
right,
to say
why
it
don't
in
you
context.
provide the context?
The
What happened?
violation of the protective order was violated when the police came looking for him at my house. I didn't call the police to have them come get him because he was violating it.
He was arrested at your house. You do agree with that?
I did agree with that.
Where he was not supposed to be, you agree with that?
Right.
Now, in addition to going along with what Sherrod says, I want to draw your attention to 2012, the summer of 2012, and the date when Sherrod came to your house, July 16th, 2012. Do you have that date in mind?
Yes.
Much of what you testified to with respect to that date was pure make-believe, correct?
Not that I know.
The truth is that you and Sherrod concocted a story in order to protect Sherrod.
Objection.
Is that a question?
Yes.
That's not the truth, no.
The truth is that in the early morning hours of July 16, 2012, Sherrod told you that he, Alexander Sherrod Bradley, killed 2 men in Boston.
Untrue.
He told you that his professional football player friend was with him, right?
Nope.
Well, that's good to know. So Bradley did not say that his...
Sustained, put a question, not a
So,
commentary.
Mr. Bradley did not say that his football player friend was with him that night.
He didn't have to say it. I saw him.
And you and Sherrod believed that you needed to protect Sherrod if the police ever came asking about that night.
No.
That's the reason that you went to the internet and began searching for Aaron Hernandez, correct?
No.
You went to Spokio.com as one of the sites, right?
I believe so.
You looked up Aaron Hernandez's address, right?
Right.
You wanted information so that you and Sherrod could pin this on Aaron Hernandez.
Wrong.
You attempted to get in Spokio.com private personal information about Aaron Hernandez, correct?
Wrong.
You made these queries into Aaron Hernandez's personal information, right?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
You did. You got on the computer and did searches.
I did some of the search.
And some of the searches were
Aaron.
Hernandez address.
Some.
Right.
I did some. Aaron did some. I didn't do them all.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm talking about the ones that you did, right?
Okay.
And now you got on the computer and you typed Aaron Hernandez address, correct?
I must have. I don't have a specific recollection of typing that out, but I must have.
You didn't ask Sherrod, hey, where does Aaron live?
No, I didn't ask him.
You typed in Aaron Hernandez girlfriend
Yes.
on the 16th of July, 2012.
Yes.
Because you wanted to get more information about Aaron Hernandez.
No.
You don't have any training in ballistics, do you?
No.
You don't know much about guns at all.
No.
You don't know what gun powder residue is or gunshot residue is, do you?
No.
You're not familiar with the term GSR, are you?
No.
You've never seen Sherrod reading forensic science books, have you?
No.
I want to draw your attention to a point in time before Sherrod got his deal with the government. So I'm asking you to think about a point in time after July 16, 2012, and before Sherrod got his deal with the government. Do you understand that time frame?
No, I don't know the exact day that he got his deal to understand the time.
Well, you know it was in October or so of 2013,
I
right?
don't know that, no.
Well, then I'll draw your attention to a time period between July 2012 and October of 2013.
Okay.
All right? Now, in that period, you testified about this on direct. Sherrod told you that the police and the Commonwealth, that they had the wrong gun, right?
Yes.
He told you he knew where the gun was, right?
No, he didn't tell me he knew where the gun was.
Well, he told you he knew that the gun they're talking about was not the gun, right?
He didn't. He said that that gun couldn't have been found in a car.
He said that
It
the
was
gun
in
was...
reference to. It was in reference to them finding it in a car.
He
didn't
said
elaborate.
He said that that gun was long gone,
Right.
right? And I want to just highlight another thing that Sherrod told you before he got his deal. You were clear, right, that Sherrod made statements to you about how he says Mr. Hernandez's body was with respect to the car, correct? This Toyota 4Runner, right?
Can you repeat that like all together?
Sure. Let me ask this way. At that time, before Sherrod got his deal, and even up to today, right, you have no earthly clue whether a Toyota 4Runner or the front seat in a Toyota 4Runner is large enough to fit a 240-pound professional football player and a 260-pound drug dealer, do you?
Objection.
Well, I don't know.
Based off of my personal knowledge of cars or sizes of cars, is that what you want me to base it off of?
Anything. You have no idea whether...
I mean, I've driven. My friend had one a while ago. I've driven them. They're big cars.
And have you ever measured the dimensions of the window?
No, I've never measured.
Have
No.
you ever measured the dimension of the front seat of a Toyota 4Runner?
No, I've never done that.
And in this period of time, before Sherrod got his deal, he told you, now these were his words, that Aaron's, quote, whole body, end quote, was out of the car, right?
He said he stuck his whole body out of the car.
He didn't say, oh, and by whole body, I really mean a little bit of his arm, right?
He didn't elaborate.
He never said, oh, when I say whole body, I don't mean body, I mean wrist area, right?
She said you didn't elaborate.
Sustained.
He never said any of that, did he?
Objection.
You may answer.
He didn't elaborate.
Now, Mr. Hagan asked you about some telephone calls, and he put up some calls on the screen. What was Aaron's telephone number back then?
It was a 203 number.
What was the entire number?
203-606. I don't know the whole number by heart.
Okay, so when he asked you if this Aaron's number, he was just pointing that out to you, right?
Right.
Now, he asked you a lot about some calls that were either no pickup or very brief, right?
Yes.
You were aware with conversations with Aaron that he was on his way to Arizona, right?
I was aware of what?
That Aaron was on his way to Arizona. And drawing your attention to the time when Sherrod was shot.
Okay.
You said you had some telephone calls with Aaron.
Yes.
And Aaron called you because he said he could not find Sherrod, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan showed you a number of calls and text messages, right?
Yes.
Some of them indicated that there was no pickup, correct?
Yes.
Some of them were early morning calls, right?
Yeah.
You do realize that if it's 7 o'clock here, it's 4 in the morning in Arizona, right?
He wasn't in Arizona the first time he called me, but I mean, I do agree with you that the time frames will be different.
Right. And were you aware that he had layover in Dallas before going to?
I wasn't aware of his
Arizona.
schedule. No.
But you do realize that that he was traveling that day, yes?
He told me that, yeah.
And that there is a time frame
Right, yeah.
or a time difference. He never told you that he in any way harmed Sherrod, correct?
That he didn't what?
He never told you that he in any way harmed Sherrod, correct?
No.
Brief indulgence. No further questions.
Well.
Few questions, Ken.
Ms. Wilcox, Mr. Sullivan asked you about money that Mr. Bradley's paid to you since he's been in custody. You recall those questions?
Yes.
Does Mr. Bradley, when able, pay you child support?
Yeah, when he was able to.
And when Mr. Sullivan referred to the various times he's paid you $1,000 or more, was that child support?
It was like tallied up from what I hadn't been getting.
And Mr. Sullivan made some reference to however he got his money. Are you aware that Alexander Bradley now has a legitimate source of income?
Yes.
Objection, leading.
I'll rephrase the question.
No. The objection's overruled. The answer may stand.
And are you aware that he has a source of income?
Yes.
And are you aware of a particular business he's involved in now?
Yes.
What is that?
Trucking company.
And are you aware of whether or not he receives funding from the legitimate trucking company?
I believe he does.
And are you aware of whether or not that's the source of some income he's giving you?
It is.
Now, you were asked some questions by Mr. Sullivan regarding the fact that you typed in Aaron Hernandez's girlfriend for a search category. Why were you looking for the girlfriend?
When they came to my house, and his cousin, I guess who it is now, but I wasn't 100% sure that was his cousin, so just being on my own, I don't know, looking on my own, I looked for his girlfriend to see if that was the same person. Based on like my observations, they were talking face to face really close, and so.
When you looked up the girlfriend of Aaron Hernandez, was that the same woman you saw in the kitchen?
No.
But did you later see that woman in the kitchen on the news at some point?
Yeah.
No, overruled.
When you saw the cousin, did you recognize her?
Yep.
And
Yes.
who did you recognize her to be?
The woman that was in my kitchen.
Now, you were asked some questions by Mr. Sullivan about whether or not you believed it was possible for Alexander Bradley to be in a Toyota 4Runner with Aaron Hernandez leaning over him, shooting. You recall those questions?
Yes.
I believe in response to some of the questions you mentioned that you yourself have a friend who has a 4Runner in their big car,
In the past, yeah.
and you seem to hint that you do have an opinion on whether or not there's enough room on that. What is your opinion on that?
I believe it's possible.
And relative to the questions by Mr. Sullivan about what Alexander Bradley told you about the shooting, did he ever tell you anybody other than Aaron Hernandez committed the shooting?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions.
So your testimony is that Alexander Bradley runs a trucking company from jail,
I didn't say he runs a trucking company from jail.
that he has a trucking company while he's in jail?
I believe he said he's affiliated with it. He has income from it.
And do they truck marijuana and cocaine?
I don't know what they truck.
Yeah, but it's not far-fetched, is it? To your thinking?
Sustained.
No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Please watch your step. Commonwealth.
Commonwealth call Sergeant Detective Timothy Laham.
solemnly swear that testimony you shall give this court and jury, and the issue now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you, sir. Kindly follow the officer.
Watch step, have a seat.
Mr. Hagan.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your last name, please?
Timothy Laham, L-A-H-A-M.
And what is your current occupation, sir?
I'm a sergeant detective with the Boston Police Department.
Sergeant Detective Laham, how long have you been with the Boston Police Department?
About 16 years.
And would you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, during that 16-year career with the Boston Police Department, what areas or units you've been assigned to?
I began as a patrolman, graduating out of the academy, and I was assigned to Area C6, which covers South Boston. I was transferred over to Area B3, which covers Dorchester and Mattapan. I was also assigned to Area A1, which covers downtown Boston area, Chinatown, the North End. I've also been, once I made detective, I was transferred back to Area B3 as a detective, and then I was also transferred to the forensic group, where I currently am assigned as a detective, and then I was promoted to sergeant in 2015. I remained, after my promotion, I remained in the forensic group and in my assignment.
What is your current assignment in the forensic group?
We work electronic crimes. I'm a computer forensic examiner.
Sergeant Detective Laham, can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and the court what type of training or experience you've had in the area of computer forensics?
As a computer forensic examiner, I started out in 2009. I attended a the National Computer Forensic Institute, which is in Hoover, Alabama. The training is conducted by the United States Secret Service. It's a basic computer evidence recovery training. I've also attended advanced forensics training at NCFI, mobile device training to extract data from mobile devices. I've also received training at NCFI for network intrusions, and I've also attended training such as SANS training for computer forensics incident response. I've also attended Macintosh forensics training with the Department of Defense and other trainings throughout the years.
And throughout each year, do you have repeated and recurring trainings that you attend across the country?
Yes, sir. I either proctor trainings or I attend trainings.
And are you a certified forensic computer examiner with an agency called the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists?
Yes, sir. I'm a CFCE, certified forensic computer examiner with what we call IASIS, which is short for International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists.
And what did you have to do to obtain that certification, sir?
It begins with a peer review process where you have to examine 4 images, answer questions regarding those images, and then if you successfully complete that, it's over a period of time. If you successfully complete that, then you would be allowed to go into the certification process where you would examine another image, and you would also take a final examination, and then upon successfully completing that, you'd be awarded the CFCE.
And are you also a certified, what's referred to as a JTAG, JTAG forensic examiner?
Yes, sir. JTAG through Tail Technologies, I was certified last year, and that's just an advanced technique for extracting data from mobile devices.
And do you actually teach forensics, particularly computer forensics? As a computer examiner?
I have proctored. I don't teach computer forensics. I do teach at the Boston Police Academy general investigators how to do cybercrime investigations, basically teach them how to retrieve data or identify things on the internet when a lot of the crimes these days are out on the internet or they're used through the internet. They're done through the internet, so we try to teach the detectives of the Boston Police Department how to, what steps to take to try to find out who did what on the internet.
And Sergeant Detective, I think you mentioned that you work closely or you've had some trainings with the United States Secret Service. And what exactly is your relationship with the United States Secret Service, particularly any task forces that you were involved in?
Yes, sir. I sit up with the United States Secret Service and their computer forensic lab. I sit up there with other examiners from Cambridge PD, and we have 3 other examiners with the Secret Service with 10 Causeway in the Boston field office. And we also have Secret Service agent examiners also up there.
And you work closely with those individuals, sir?
Yes, sir, every day.
And sir, calling your attention now to what's oftentimes referred to as opinion or expert testimony, have you been qualified in any courts in the Commonwealth, either federal or state, to give what's called expert opinion testimony on computer forensics as a forensic examiner?
Yes, sir.
In what court, sir?
West Roxbury District Court.
And what about Suffolk Superior Court?
I did testify most recently. I apologize. I don't know if I was qualified as an expert at that point, but...
But did you give opinion testimony about computer downloads, computer forensics?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to call your attention to a particular case that you assisted with, and that would be in 2013. At some point, was a certain computer provided to you for you to attempt a forensic download of that computer?
Yes, sir.
I'm calling your attention now to a specific computer, that being a Hewlett-Packard laptop computer. Was that provided to you on November 1st of 2013?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe for ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Sergeant Detective, just generally speaking, how to do a forensic examination of a computer? What methods do you use to do that?
When we bring the device that we're examining back to the lab, we would preferably we would be able to, and it's changing as day to day, but we would prefer to remove the hard drive from the device, a laptop in this case, and we would connect it to a write blocking device. And just a right blocking device will be a bridge between my forensic workstation and the hard drive. And what a right blocker is used to prevent any changes done to the hard drive. We don't want to make any changes. And then through that connection to my forensic workstation, I'd use a imaging software which would create a forensic image, which is a bit-for-bit copy of the data on the hard drive.
So is that in essence, Sergeant Detective, preserving all the data within that hard drive?
Yes, sir.
Now, this particular laptop that we've discussed, given to you on or around November 2013, did you become aware that it was a laptop computer purportedly belonging to Brooke Wilcox?
Yes, sir.
And as for purposes of your download of the data contained within that device, did you obtain a consent form from Ms. Wilcox to download the entire contents of that computer?
Yes, sir.
Were you advised, Sergeant Detective, prior to examining that computer as to whether or not there had been some things done to it that could affect your ability to download?
Affect my ability to download? No, sir. Maybe affect my ability to find what was requested of me? Yes.
Explain that. What was your understanding of what was done, and how did that affect your analysis or examination?
Well, what was relayed to me was that there was work done on the laptop computer. I didn't know the extent of the work done on the laptop computer, but if there's any type of work or wiping or changes to the hard drive, that might affect whether or not I would be able to find the data that's found on that particular hard drive or within that image.
In this particular case, Sergeant Detective, did you employ what you've described, the basic copying of the entire hard drive to preserve all the data? Were you successful in getting that done?
Yes, sir.
And in addition to copying, in essence, the entire hard drive, all the data contained therein, did you then use some type of software to extract certain data that you were looking for?
Yes, sir. We use forensic suites and different tools to examine the data on that hard drive. So it would be different tools that we would use.
Describe the different tools that you used on this particular laptop.
To image it, would be FTK Imager, which is made by Access Data. A forensic suite EndCase, which version 6 is what I used back then. I would also use Magnet Forensics Internet Evidence Finder, which is another tool that would be used to process the data that's on the hard drive. And I could also use Reg Ripper, which is a tool just to examine the Windows registry.
So in essence, Sergeant Detective, when you examined this particular computer, were you able to recover data, particularly internet searches that were made on or around certain dates?
Yes, sir.
And you use the tools that you've just described to do that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of using the tools that you just described, Sergeant Detective, did you complete first an overall large report that if printed out would be thousands of pages or more?
Yes, sir.
And what did that contain within it?
If you're referring to the Internet Evidence Finder report, it contained a report which reports on different artifacts within the Windows operating system. So those artifacts, when I talk about artifacts, would be like historic data, and it's data from different things that are on your computer. So your home computer, you'd have web history, different things like that. You might have some other things. Internet Evidence Finder has advanced throughout the years, and it provides a lot more data than that. But it would, in this particular case, web history would be one of the things that would be processed.
And from that software, that process that you've described, Sergeant Detective, did you create a rather large, extensive report that contained all of the data?
It's not all of the data on the hard drive. It's just all the data that's being reported on.
Right. And I'm going to show you, sir, a CD and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes, sir.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's my IAF full report, Internet Evidence Finder report.
So what does that contain as far as data that you were able to extract from that particular laptop computer purportedly belonging to Brooke Wilcox?
This contains a report that's generated by Internet Evidence Finder, and it has pretty much, I tried to do as much stuff that the Internet Evidence Finder would report for me.
You're asked that the CD just be marked for identification, please. Sergeant Detective, did you ultimately create a smaller report that was more focused towards finding particular data within that computer?
Yes, sir.
What was the nature of that report?
That's another Internet Evidence Finder report. What I try to do is I try to streamline what is requested of me. I don't want to give everything and throw it at an investigator to look at. I would rather they're very specific on what they're requesting of me, and I generated a report trying to provide that for them.
And what was requested for you, at least initially in 2013? What types of searches or timeframes were you looking for?
Yes, searches from it's July 16th, July 17th, 2012 on that computer, internet activity on that computer.
Approach witness, sir. Just showing your second CD, asking if you recognize that, sir.
Yes, sir. That's the IEF bookmarked report.
That's a smaller report you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
You're asking the second IEF bookmarked report be marked for identification only.
No, Chris.
Sergeant Detective, prior to testifying, have you had an opportunity to observe a more, for lack of a better term, user-friendly report format to show what the results were of your Internet Finder search to determine if certain searches were made at or around July 16th, 2012?
Yes, sir.
I approach witness, Ryan.
You may.
Showing your 3-page document, Sergeant Detective, I'd ask you if you recognize that.
Yes, sir. This is generated. It's the parsed search queries from Internet Evidence Finder on the report that I provided.
What does that mean, parsed search queries?
The tool parses out data, so it's a more readable format for a user. Sometimes when you're dealing with data, it's not really a user-friendly. It's very difficult to see what you're identify what you're trying to find. So IEF does a good job of parsing it out.
In this 3-page document, Sergeant Detective, is this a pared down version of internet searches for that time period of July 16, 2012 into July 17, 2012?
Yes, sir.
And is this just limited to certain searches that you bookmarked as potentially relevant to the investigation?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, so the 3-page document, the parsed search query be marked as an exhibit in evidence?
Is there an objection?
Subject to redaction.
The 313.
I'm sorry, Nancy, what?
313.
313, thank you.
Now, Sergeant Detective, I think you testified that that's obviously not every search on the computer that was made during that time period. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'd have to look again, but I don't believe it's every single search that was made on that computer.
Are you aware, sir, of whether or not you were able to, prior to testifying, create, again, in as user-friendly a format as possible, a search of the laptop computer to determine all websites visited for that 24-hour period?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, sir.
Were you able to create a report that showed all the websites visited, basically an Internet Explorer history as well as a Chrome history?
Yes, sir. A web history report. Yes, sir.
Describe what that is for those who may not know.
That's just, I mean, when you have different browsers, on a computer, you have browsers that you use to go out on the internet, and those browsers store data on sites visited and the web history. They're stored in different files, and Internet Evidence Finder processes those files and provides it in a readable format for us.
First, sir, I'm calling your attention to a 39-page document did you create a search for Internet Explorer history for that laptop computer essentially from July 16, 2012 into July 17, 2012?
Yes, sir.
I approach witness, Your Honor.
You may.
So showing you a 21-page document. I'm sorry. A 39-page document. Ask if you recognize that, sir.
Yes, sir, that's Internet Explorer history. And the search is done on July 16, 2012.
I'm calling your attention now to a second 21-page document. Can you tell us what that is?
That's the Internet Explorer history, and it's July 17, 2012.
The rest of these two Internet Explorer histories be marked as next numbered exhibits A and B and subject to redaction.
Subject to redaction, objection.
Copy received, Exhibit 314, A and B.
Sergeant Detective, you mentioned that the two reports that have just been entered as exhibits 314 A and B, that would basically be the searches made through Internet Explorer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For those 2 days? You mentioned, I believe in your testimony, a second web browser called Chrome. Can you describe what that is again?
Yes, it's a Chrome's made by Google, and it's another web browser that people prefer to use.
I approach your witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Sergeant Detective, I'm showing you an 8-page document in total. Ask you to look at that and tell us if you recognize it.
It's Chrome carved web history, and it's from July 16, 2012.
Does it also include, on the latter pages, July 17, 2012, the Chrome history?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, that the Chrome history be marked as the next number exhibit subject to redaction.
Subject to redaction without objection.
That is received, Exhibit 315.
Now, Sergeant Detective, I'm placing on the screen Exhibit 313, which I believe you testified about as a parsed search query. I'd like to go over with you what the various categories in this means. First, calling your attention to the search term. Can you tell us what that is, sir?
That's a search term that was visited or used.
And this one would be breaking news in Boston?
Yes, sir.
Now, the second category, which going down the line appears to say Google on the first page, and then if you go to the second page, seems to refer to something called Bing.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what those are?
They're search engines. If you want to visit the internet and you want to search for something, you could use Google or Bing or another search engine to try to find it on the internet.
And the next category, which appears to, in this case, have breaking news in B, what is that?
It's that's the original search query, and that would be what a user might query on the computer itself.
So is that the actual keystrokes that are entered, or what is that?
Yes, sir. It could be the keystrokes entered or clicked on by the computer, on the computer. I'm sorry.
And the next category here, sir, what is that?
That's the URL or the path on the internet to where that's the Google search engine URL.
And the next category or column, web page title.
That's the breaking news in Boston, Google search.
And in the what's entitled artifact?
Yes, sir, that's the artifact. That's where the data was stored. That's where it found it. So that would be the Internet Explorer history artifact that was processed to get that information.
And if, similarly, if we go to the next page quickly, in that same column, one of these entries is Chrome 360. Does that just mean that that's found in a search of Chrome as the internet browser?
That's where, I'm sorry, the internet browsers store data in different locations of the computer, so it would be found in the Chrome, where Chrome stores its data.
Now, this particular list that we see, Sergeant Detective Exhibit 313, is it fair to state it's not, unfortunately, listed in chronological order?
That's correct.
And why is that?
We were trying to put it in chronological order, but for some reason the AM and PM was hindering us from doing it. So it would have been a lot easier if it was in military time. But we have, say, 3 o'clock. What I'm looking at here is 3 o'clock, 3:55 and 44 AM. If it was 3:55 and 45 PM, it would still show up right afterwards.
Now, as you're talking about time, Sergeant Detective, can you tell us, this is listed up here as date, time, UTC. What is meant by UTC relative to the time?
The tool is reporting the date and time in UTC time.
And what does UTC time mean?
It's coordinated universal time. It's the, I would say, the time standard of the world. So everything is off of that. So it's that time, UTC time would be in, say, Europe, would be UTC time, where like maybe London or England and other countries in Europe, going straight down maybe into Africa.
So for our purposes, to convert this into Eastern Standard Time, is there something we have to do to do so?
Yes, sir. Since it's July 17, 2012, we're in Eastern Daylight Time. So I would have to minus 4 hours from that time to get what the local time would be.
So in this particular first entry, that for the record is entry number 2137, breaking news in Boston, search via Internet Explorer, the correct time would be what, sir, in Eastern Standard Time?
That would be 11:55 and 44 PM relative to the system time.
For the record, I'm going to write 11:55, 44, and that's AM, sir?
PM. It's that's a 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:55 in the morning.
And we'll do one more Internet Explorer, similar search, calling your attention to the next category. And the time listed here is 3:55 AM. Would that similarly be minus 4?
I would minus 4 on that.
And every single column should be minus 4, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
For the record, on Exhibit 313, I'm going to write minus 4 down the column. So I'm going to call your attention to entry number 2019. This one here listing as breaking Boston news. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And the search engine was what?
Google?
And this means that it went to a website, myfoxboston.com.
Yes, sir.
And the browser that was used was what, sir?
Chrome?
And I think you've already testified this. Was Chrome different than Internet Explorer?
Yes, sir.
And from your personal experience, Sergeant Detective Laham, do people tend to use the same browser?
Objection, proper opinion.
Sustained.
Let me ask you a question, Sergeant Detective Laham. You personally, do you tend to use the same browser, or do you switch back and forth?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Can you tell us, Sergeant Detective Laham, how the browsers are lined up on a computer in a Windows system?
It varies. It varies through system to system. Some might have icons on the desktop or in the tray down below. Some people don't have it on there at all. They might want to go into the program files themselves and go in there. So it depends.
And just continuing with this same entry, which is entry number 219, the time of this search that's done at myfoxboston.com, Boston Breaking News, listed here as July 16, 2012 at 11:09 a.m. What is that converted to Eastern Standard Time?
Minus 4 hours, it would be 7:09 and 12 seconds a.m.
Your Honor, if it moves things along, we're having to stipulate that UTC is 4 hours in front of Eastern Standard Time.
Just to clarify, so that search, Sergeant Detective, would be at 7:09 in the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the entry just above it, Breaking News, Boston, Google, and then the entry that was put in by the user was what?
Breaking Boss.
And although it says 11:15 a.m., again, as was stipulated to you by counsel, that is 4 hours difference, which is 7:15 in the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so without going through each one individually, is it fair to state that exhibit number 313 contains various searches done through both browsers, both Internet Explorer and Chrome, where there's some indication of looking at both shooting in Boston and shooting in Hartford?
Yes, sir.
And so, Detective, just to explain to the jurors how to read the other exhibits that we entered, Exhibit 314B and 314A, just for the record, placed on the screen, 314B. Could you just explain how to read this record, sir?
The type of the type of data that the main history record, that's the type of data that it's coming from. The date and time last visited, that's in it. It's Internet Explorer history. The user might be the user profile on the computer. The URL is visited. That's if you look at your top bar of your browser, you can see your URL when you visit a website.
And that's what we see here?
Yes, sir. Web page title, a title that's given out on the web page from the various websites that are out there, and how many times it tracks how many times the site was visited within Internet Explorer, and then it gives you a second date and time down the end there.
And where's the second date and time, sir?
It's down to the right there.
Right there. Just placing on the screen 314A, which is a little bit different, this being Internet Explorer history.
Yes, sir.
Can you just tell us again how to read this entry?
It's the main history record, and then it gives you the last visited date and time. And then it has the user profile, and then the URL, which was explained before, and the web page title, the visit count, and then it has a second date and time, which seems to match up with the last visited date and time.
And sir, can you explain the search engine itself, the browser? Do you have an opinion based upon your training and experience as to when you're searching in a term, whether or not the computer will do anything automatically based upon your location, your geographic location?
Yes, sir. When we're out on the internet, we have IP addresses, and it seems, and if you look at the bottom of your browser on some of your web browsers, if you look at the bottom, sometimes it tries to, from your IP address, tries to guess where you're doing your searching from. It might not have an exact location of your house, for example, but know your city, town, or region. It might know where you are. So what it tries to do, in my experience, is it seems it tries to predict what you're searching. So a good example is if I want to know what the weather is, and I open up a search engine like Google, I could type in weather, and then it might try to predict Boston for me. I might be able to hit the down arrow, hit enter Boston, and real quick, and then go and see Boston weather, for example.
And on a similar vein to that, Sergeant Detective, I'm placing on a screen exhibit number 313 again, just calling your attention to a particular entry. This entry being 214, which indicates a search of shooting in Boston, Google, and then it has a URL website, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And can you explain why this, if you have an opinion as to why this website search, the URL, jumps from shooting Boston apparently to Ray Allen? In other words, when a search term is placed of shooting Boston, what
Right.
will come up?
I don't have an opinion on that, why I would do that. It looks like,
Objection to anything further?
Put a question.
What does that look like to you, that particular entry, sir?
it looks like it was a Google search and of shooting in Boston, a query shooting Boston. You can see it in the URL up above. But then it also looks like a site was visited, NewYorkDailyNews.com, about basketball, Ray Allen, thanks Celtics fans signing Miami Heat shooting.
But it's all part of the same search, is that correct?
It looks to be, yes.
Just calling your attention to the third page of exhibit number 313. Did you also recover, relative to what you were looking for on your computer search of that laptop, did you also recover some searches from 2013, specifically February of 2013?
Yes, sir.
Does that include references to Palm Beach man shot?
Yes, sir.
And Sergeant Detective, based upon what you've testified to, again, these records can be read as you've described. The only thing that parties or jurors need to do is just subtract 4 on any time entry?
I would from UTC, yes, sir. If there's something that specifies otherwise up above in the header, if it gives you an offset, then I would note that before.
But the 3 exhibits that we entered, Sergeant Detective, Exhibit 314A and B, as well as 313, all of those contain that header of UTC. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and then I would -4.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Was that true as well, sir, of the Chrome search, exhibit 315?
I believe so, yes, Your Honor.
Defendant.
You don't have any computer forensic evidence about any search from a device that Aaron Hernandez owned on the 16th of July 2012, correct?
Correct, sir.
Very briefly, it's a couple questions. One, assume that an individual turns on their computer and clicks the history bar on their computer. Do you have that in mind?
Yes, sir.
And if they click the history bar, then the history of searches will come up, right?
Yes, sir.
And further assume that someone clicks the history bar and sees a search that says Boston shooting. You have that in mind?
Yes, sir.
And if you click that, then that website would come up, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to ask you just a couple questions about the condition in which you got the computer. In response to questions from Mr. Hagan, you said that there was something that was done to the computer before you got it.
Yes, sir.
And you received information that the computer was not in the same state that it was in 2012, correct?
Correct.
That, did you receive any information that any data or files were missing or deleted from 2012?
I received information that the computer was worked on and there was a data recovery. I didn't know what files might have been deleted or not. We had to look at that during the forensic examination and what the condition of the computer was when I received it. So I don't know if there has been any files or data that was deleted since 2012. I can't answer definitively if I have all the data or the whole data.
That's fine. So to be clear, you don't know what may have been deleted before you got the computer, correct?
Correct.
You ended up doing a couple searches, correct?
Yes, sir.
The first one didn't turn up all the information that you provided today, right?
Right. The initial search was, I think, too broad. Internet Evidence Finder in the end resulted in finding and parsing out the data so I could quickly identify it.
And you did a second search and was able to get additional information.
Yes, sir.
You're also, and in neither of your searches, did you get information about a Spokio.com search, correct?
I don't know if it's in the full report, the larger report. So the answer is I don't know, because a lot of times when I'm doing the exam and I recover web history, I can't determine what's evidence and what's not. It's up to the investigation. I would provide that to the investigator. So the answer would be I don't know if what I did in the reports I provided that type of search.
So to the best of your knowledge, then, I'll put it that way, you're not aware of a Spokio.com search that is listed in any of your reports?
I haven't looked at it, so I don't know.
And were you aware by any of the investigators that our forensic team uncovered the Spokio.com searches?
I briefly looked at that report yesterday.
With respect to the condition that you saw the computer in, just draw your attention back to that, and forgive me, there's another question, just so that we can be clear. If indeed items were deleted from the computer before it was, and correct my terminology if I'm wrong, but before a new operating system, is that right? was put on the computer, you cannot recover the other piece, right? The former data.
It can be difficult to recover the information about the former operating system. But if you delete something on a computer, it's not necessarily gone. It could still physically be on the hard drive. But the prior operating system, I think what you're getting at, getting information about like the Windows registry and stuff like that, that could be difficult.
All right. And finally, nothing about your forensic examination can determine who was going on sites. For example, nothing about your forensic examination can tell us who was looking at Spokio.com, right?
No, sir?
It can just tell you that some individual accessed the site.
Yes, sir.
Right, brief indulgence, Your Honor. In just one more area, were you aware in your forensic examination of Ms. Wilcox's computer that a Brooke Line, BROOKLYNNE account was deleted?
That you're talking about the user profile, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, that if you reformat a hard drive and reinstall an operating system, then it's going to essentially be, as you could say, deleted. There would be a new user profile that was put on there.
So that's a yes, you are aware that that account
Yes, sir.
is disappeared, gone.
It's no longer active.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Just a couple of quick questions, sir. Just to clarify, Sergeant Detective, what you were just asked by Mr. Sullivan about the username Brookline no longer being available. Can you explain that again?
If I have an operating system on my computer and I say I get a really bad virus and I need it worked on and I can take it to a shop to get worked on, the person at the shop might turn around and say, hey, we need to reinstall the operating system. All right, go ahead, do it, or recover data for me before you do it, and then rebuild it so I don't have a virus on my computer. They reinstall the operating system, and then I get it back. My user profile is going to be different than prior, and other data and stuff like that associated with that, because I have essentially a new operating system installed on the computer.
And now, Sergeant Detective, you've already testified to the fact of what Ms. Wilcox explained to you had been done to her computer. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, sir.
And was that work that she explained done to the computer consistent with what you've just described?
Yes, sir.
And in your opinion, again, from your training experience and as a computer forensic examiner, would that work have caused the username to change, as you described?
It would. I believe the user profile name was HP on the new operating system.
And then just two other issues, sir. You were asked about whether or not you uncovered Spokio searches. In particular, I'm going to call your attention to Exhibit 314, which is the much larger report, Internet Explorer History. Just going to page 29, number 4778. Can you see that line there?
Yes, sir.
Does that say Spokio.com, Aaron Hernandez?
Yes, sir.
So your search did find Spokio searches, is that correct?
It would be in the larger report. Yes, sir.
And this particular search, according to your records, was done on July 16th, 2012, 3:58:22 p.m., and we have to subtract 4 from that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that would put us at what time?
If you subtract 4, it would be 11:56:22 a.m.
And then lastly, Sergeant Detective, you were asked questions by or at least one question by Mr. Sullivan about the fact that you've had an opportunity to review their experts' forensic download of that hard drive. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did their report, at least as it's listed, account for UTC?
It doesn't mark UTC. It doesn't tell you what time zone the date and times are on.
But the data contained in that report is the same data that you have.
There might be some other things. I mean, the magnet forensic report that the defense provided is the tool's updated. It's newer. My tool was used back in 2013. 2013. So there might be some differences in data.
But just to be clear, Sergeant Detective, showing you on the screen what's been entered as Exhibit QQQ, does this appear to be certain pages of the download provided to you ostensibly or purportedly from the defense experts? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, to the extent that one would read off a time for the search, do you have an opinion as to whether or not that time is accurate, at least in Eastern Standard Time as listed?
What I did was I tried to find the same result in the defense report as my report, and I was able to compare. My result was that time, date and time, is in UTC time, because in my date and time report, in my report says UTC. So, and they had the same exact date and time.
So again, to properly read this in Eastern Standard Time, anything from the defense report should also be subtracted by 4 hours. Is that correct?
From what I found, yes.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Mr. Sullivan, anything further?
Very briefly, a couple of questions. Mr. Hagan asked you about the user profiles, the Brooke line that was deleted. To be clear, your testimony is that that could have been, profile could have been saved, and it could have been saved and stored, correct?
I believe you could save and store anything on a. I do computer forensic images at any time, so it could. The answer would be yes.
And with respect to this last question, I won't go through, won't go through each of the times, but you will agree that the report provided by our expert, you would agree that the expert is aware of UTC and these other terms.
Sustained.
Did you go through each and every one of that, each and every entry from our expert's report and compare them with your report?
No, sir.
You did enough of a comparison to know that based on the newer technology and the newer tools that our report was more expansive than the original one, than the one that your office did.
I just received the report yesterday, so I can't pass an opinion on
Fair enough.
what's more and less. Well, I apologize.
Fair, no, thank you, no further questions.
Yes.
All right, sir, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thank you. And folks, given the riveting nature of this testimony, I think I'm not going to excite you with another witness before lunch. So why don't we take lunch now? We will resume at 2:05.
Can I be referred to